I am fascinated by what I learn from my guests, often on this podcast. Leslee Cohen was definitely one of those guests. She taught me a different type of a business model for a law firm. Very successful, very happy. Check out the episode. I mean, you're going to get a new idea that you probably have never thought about. And it's incredibly simple and sophisticated and made her firm incredibly successful. Enjoy the episode. Hi there. I have a small but really meaningful favor to ask you. I watch at the stats on our YouTube channel and Spotify channel, wherever most people listen and watch our podcast. And I see that over 80% of everybody who listens to it regularly is not a subscriber. I'm asking you to subscribe to this channel. And the reason for that is my mission and the mission of my team is to help as many small law firm owners to learn how to transform their law firms into better businesses, and so they in turn enjoy better lives. When you hit subscribe button, you tell these platforms that this is content worth listening, worth viewing, and they in turn will show it to many other small law firm owners and hopefully help me fulfill our mission of helping them create a better business and enjoy better lives. So would you please do me this favor? It would mean the world to me, and hit the subscribe button. And my promise to you is that I will continue to work hard at creating good content with practical ideas that help you and your teams grow better law firms. Thank you. Welcome to Grow Law Podcast. I have an awesome guest with me here today, Leslee Cohen, formerly kind of my neighbor. We lived in the same zip code until I moved to Florida about 4 months ago. Leslee built a really, really cool law firm. And what makes it very different, and this is going to be the subject of this podcast, is that, Leslee, all of your employees are there initially because they needed to work on a flex schedule. Most of them are moms, like 9 out of 10 of your attorneys are moms. And they were attracted. And what's really interesting about this, you would think that at some point they would want to bail and go work for big law once again or do those things. But you retain them. They stay with you for years. So welcome to the show. Tell us about your journey, how you got there, and how do you do this amazing thing where your retention, like employee retention, is 100%, which is very unusual for the field.
Yeah. First of all, thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here. So my background, which actually leads into the answer to that question, is spent 20 years in big law, first 7 on Wall Street, and then back here in your old zip code in Chicago at a much bigger firm. And I, for various reasons, ended up leaving 15 years ago to start my own firm. I left with a partner who has since retired. And so the journey that led me here is that when my partner retired, he was sort of running the firm, right? I had 2 boys I was raising. I was trying to build a book of business. I was practicing law, like all the things. So I was very, very busy. And so when he retired, I was like, I'm all of a sudden running a business, right? Like this isn't like a business like any other. And I have no idea how to do that. They not only didn't teach us that in law school, but I mean, I went to college I thought I was going to be a diplomat. I had no business acumen whatsoever. So I did this program. And the first thing that we did in the program was it was a year long, and we had to identify a North Star. So like, what's your goal for this program? And when I first saw the question and was contemplating it, I was like, okay, I want to build a sustainable law firm of top level professionals. There was a firm when I was growing up in Chicago, when I was in law school, there was about 10 lawyers, and it was just known as like they could go up against the big guys, right? Like you could hire them and know these are really smart lawyers, really good at what they do. And that was sort of my dream, to build something like that. But the woman who was running this program I was doing, she said, that's great and all, but if you're building a business, like put aside a law firm, you're building a business and you want it to be successful, you need to somehow integrate who you are. Like, how is this Leslee Cohen's firm? And how do you differentiate it? And so I started, and we had to come up with a vision and a mission. And I started thinking about my own journey. And I thought, 2 things sort of coincided. So one of them was that I was the co-founder of an organization called the Coalition of Women's Initiatives in Law back in 2008. and we can get into that later if you're interested. But it was really devoted to how do we solve the problem of 50% of law school graduates at the time I came out were women. But when you look at equity partnerships, and I still think this is the case, it's like 1.7%. So how do we solve the problem of retaining women as they become mothers and moving them up into, leadership positions within their firms? And that coincided with the fact that when I moved back to Chicago, I was very honest with the firm I went to that I wanted I was in my 30s. I had met the love of my life. I was, wanted to have a baby right away. And I wanted to be able to make partner and come back part time. And they gave me that opportunity and it worked wonderfully for 13 years. And I wanted to create a firm where that gift that I was given that I could pass on to other women and men if they're stay-at-home dads, they're men in all different positions, so to give that gift and create a law firm centered around that concept.
Why was making a partner so important to you?
That's a great question. I had never been a underachiever. I think most people who get through to the point of law school are like that. So it was always like, everyone else can get A's. That's fine. It's not about beating anyone, but I have to get A's, and like I have to get into the best college and law school and work at a top firm. And it was just always like whatever the next level was, I needed to get to the top.
Was it your parents who got that
Oh
in
yeah.
you? Okay.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
God.
Sort of
Okay.
I was born like that, but they
played the role.
They played the role, yes.
So you make a partner, and after some years, you live that firm, and then here you are. You're starting your own law firm in 2010. First of all, I got to recognize you for having enough business acumen to know that you had little business acumen at the time. Most people who start businesses, and lawyers definitely included in that stat, have very poor understanding of how business operates. And when they hear things like they didn't teach you that in law school, I'm like, yes, you went to law school, they taught you law. You didn't go to business school, which when I went to college almost 30 years ago, like I did have a degree in business, in finance, and they taught us very little about operations of a business. They prepared us to work within a corporate environment. So if you were looking to start a business, you still had to learn yourself. Today, it's easier than ever to learn how business operates, but back then it was hard. But you recognize that. So you joined this incubator for a year, which is amazing. For all of you who are listening to this and you may be struggling with your business, with your law firm, think about it. Leslee invested a year and probably some money into learning about business, which is awesome. And they give you this direction and say, like, this business has to feel like yours. So you make this about like creating an opportunities for people who needed to work part-time, basically, in a world where part-time is a very, very, oh my God, I may have heard of it a few times, but it isn't incredibly rare in the legal profession where you're like, yeah, I'm going to work part-time.
It is. It is.
All right. So, and then your retention is so incredibly high. So I'm curious, firstly, how do you attract lawyers who want to work part-time? Because again, it's so rare. I think I don't think most people are looking for a part-time job in the field because they know that those positions are probably incredibly hard to come by. And then I have a bunch more questions.
Okay. Yes. Well, first of all, and I'm not chastising you at all. I say flex time because when push comes to shove, a lot of my lawyers probably work 30 to 40 hours a week. So they work, so it's more like, working when the baby's napping or working when, and what one other, kind of misconception, I have about half are young moms. The other half are actually older than I am, which is, these days. But so they have all different life circumstances. So one of them is all women and one absolutely incredible man. He moved to Missouri and wanted to be able to fish a lot of the day, but early morning. He had plenty of time to work during the day, but he wanted to be somewhere far away and he wanted to be able to fish and he wanted to be able to, do all kinds of other things in his life. I have one of my lawyer's husbands retired and she didn't want to. And he said, that's fine. But a couple times a year, I want to take great trips with you. I want to be gone for 2 weeks at a time. Another thing that you can't usually find. Another one of my lawyers has 2 elderly parents. She's constantly flying back and forth to Florida. So there are a lot of reasons in people's lives that they just can't work 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, or 9 to what is it? 8 to 8.
Whatever,
Right. Um,
whatever's required.
yeah, yeah. So first of all, that's just those are a couple things I wanted to just clarify. But
Appreciate
in
that.
terms of finding them, my number one resource is an organization called the Mom Project, and it started. If I had to guess, I'd say 7 or 8 years ago, as a platform for women who had been out of the workplace raising kids for some period of time and wanted to get back into it. And it's not just for lawyers; it's for every different occupation. And then there's a stigma to that, right? If you're going up against, if you're on, Indeed or whatever, and you send your resume and there's a hole in it, there's, maybe you're gonna have probably a lot more difficult time finding something. Whereas on the Mom Project, if you went on there to hire, you knew that's what you were getting. And
Mhm.
so, that's my number one resource for hiring. But it actually all started when my ex-partner was such a good guy, and he was like, if we're gonna hire someone ever, I can't ever fire them. So it needs to be someone who, probably has their own benefits and, that kind of thing. And, he's like, what about a great, like a mom who couldn't do the big firm thing for whatever reason because of wanting to be the mom she wants to be? And the first person we found, and you're bringing this back to me, was actually Sidley and Austin, a huge law firm, had this is really kind of a cool story, I think. There were so many women who left because they couldn't handle the hours and have kids, that they started in those days a list serve,
Mhm.
and it was all mom it was called the Sidley Moms Listserv, and it was women who had left and wanted to work if they could in, continue being lawyers in any capacity. So it was a list if, law firms or companies or anyone, was looking for someone on a project basis. And that's the first person I found was from that. Is that interesting?
Fascinating. Okay. So you attract them through this platform now. It's very interesting. And here's what's even more interesting to me: your retention. It's sky high. They stay with you. I'm sure things evolve, right? And they may have fewer responsibilities at home, and they may choose to go somewhere else, but yet they decide to stay with you, which in the legal field, it's not unheard of that retention is good, but it's not often the case that it's great. What do you think that keeps them so happy staying with you for years and years and years?
I mean, it's all the culture. It's the culture which is led by. So we actually had a huge retreat last week, and it was amazing, and we just all were we are so bonded. But was one of the questions in the retreat, in the beginning, we had a facilitator, and she put us into pairs, and she asked a whole bunch of really thought-provoking questions. And the first one was actually, what atmosphere brings out the best in you as a worker? And my answer was, right away, because I knew this, because I built the whole firm based on this. When the person I'm working for boosts me up instead of pounds me down
Hmm.
is what makes me bloom.
Yeah.
So, and for me, it's the clients I answer to, right? So when a client is like, "You guys are amazing. Thank you so much. This was great work." I just can't do enough for them, right? I just want to do more and more and more work for them. And I want to, throw in hours for free and, send them holiday gifts and all the things. When someone is like, annoyed in some way, or when I used to work in big law and, they mark up your work in red and, all that and throw it on your desk. That doesn't feel good. And for me, that doesn't empower me to do more. That just, so the whole firm is built on that basis. Make everybody feel everyone's here for a reason, right? That's my feeling, is like everyone's on this earth for a reason, right? Like there's just so many people could have been created, but each of us was created. So finding that thing about each of the people who works for you and making them feel good about it and valued for it and adored for it. And I mean, that is what it's all about. And, that's what I work every single day to do for everybody on the team. And you know, like we at the end of the retreat the other day, we had made this big really cool mural all together that was part of this whole team building exercise. And we went to take pictures afterwards. And there's a whole bunch of us now, and someone's in the middle holding the mural up, and we're all around in the picture, and I'm in the back. and everyone's like, "You gotta get in the front." I'm like, "I don't wanna get in the front. And this is about all of you. This is about all of us. It's not about me." And that name AllRise, that's my parents were like, "Your name needs to go on the door. You've worked so hard for this." I'm like, I don't want my name on the door. I wanna build something that's for all the people who are part of it, including the clients. It's about that. I
Mm.
think that's why people stick around.
How many people were at this retreat?
10.
10 people. Got you fly
Yeah.
everyone in, I assume, because
Mhm.
everyone's remote.
Yep.
Very nice. So, is this an annual retreat?
Yes, it is.
So it's part of the culture. So they know when they sign up, they know that that's part of it.
Yep, absolutely.
Got
And
it.
we always do something cool, like, one of our lawyers is a our last year, our newest lawyer, in the fall, we usually do it, is she has a degree or certificate in forest therapy, and so, like.
What's that?
Right, exactly. And so I invited her to lead our retreat and do forest therapy. So we actually, I'm in Chicago, we went to Lincoln Park
Hmm.
on the most beautiful fall day, and it was all about, like, nature and appreciating the trees and feeling the ground, and it was very woo-woo, but it was actually really cool, and it was just a window into a world the rest of us didn't know anything about.
Wow, that's incredible. I have to also brag. My team, we also do annual retreat, and
Okay.
we travel to cool places. Like this year, we went to Sedona. Last year, we went to Puerto Rico. The year before that, we went to Colorado skiing. Next year, it's going to be now my new home turf in Florida because my partner lives here. I live here. Another colleague of ours moved here. So we're going to do it here. We usually do it in the springtime. So it's nice to travel from places like Chicago and Pennsylvania and Canada. Like we have people that will be flying from all of those places. I find that while there is no direct ROI on doing these retreats, and they cost quite a bit, they are a tremendous element of what keeps our team also magnetic. Like
Mhm.
our people stay in part because they're treated very well. They're recognized when they deserve it, which our people deserve recognition very often. By the way, I don't know, do you communicate via Slack or any other tool like that?
We don't, we just have a team email
Mm-hmm.
that we use through the day, and then we have meetings every Tuesday as a whole firm for an
Mm-hmm.
hour, and then I have office hours twice a day, so I'm just on Zoom sitting there working, and
Interesting.
people can pop on and off and just to say hello or to more typically ask a legal question.
Very interesting. So, a tip for those who may be listening or viewing this: we have a Slack. It's a communication app. It makes like you can create channels for different projects or for law firms, different cases, da da da, this and this, and then there is like a general channel for everyone, and then there is per location because we have 3 offices, per location channels, and whenever there is a reason to praise someone, it either goes into the general channel or into like one of the locations channels. And because there are so many people that know, like it's part of our culture, like they make it very public and it happens often. Like that recognition goes out there and it's big and it's bold and we want to make it specific. We want to be like, hey, John is amazing. Like, no, what did John do to earn that praise? So I think that that's part because, as I mentioned before we hit the record button, many years ago, psychologists tried to determine what are the primary factors that keep people working in their place of employment. The primary thinking was that it's the money and then everything else. And once they did that study, they concluded that the number one reason was other people. Like if you like other people who you work with, there's a very high probability you're going to stay there. Money was actually number five. Number two was recognition. Like exactly that. Like they determined that if you're not recognized or if you're pounded down, like the probability that you will want to go to work next day, not so great.
Yep.
And next year, you may be working somewhere else where hopefully you wouldn't be pounded down, but rather propped up. So very interesting. Is there anything else aside from these retreats and having the office hours twice a day, which I think is probably very useful, which makes you very approachable, which in many firms, managing partners, maybe not that approachable from what I hear. I never worked in a law firm, so I don't know. But in my imagination, it's probably not like that. Is there anything else that you do to make people feel like they're at home? Like this is the place where I want to be forever and ever.
I mean, I think like you said, recognition, and that actually, and maybe that's the bigger issue, the bigger theme is being open to listening to how to do better,
Hmm.
and letting the team know, like, I'm always open for that. So one of one of my lawyers closed a deal. She joined us a couple years ago, and when she closed the first deal she closed, she said, and I said, "You're incredible," and all this to her. And then she said, "You should really let the whole team know whenever." And she said, "In my old firm," no, she didn't say you should. She said, "In my old firm, we were all like always celebrated with a group." Now she was at a huge firm, a firm wide, celebration, celebratory congratulations whenever a big deal was closed like this. And I said, "That
Mhm.
is such a great idea." And that's where I learned that, it's always like I'm open to. We recently had a third admin join, a paralegal, and she had run a firm my size for years. So it wasn't like, "Hi, Kathy, come in. Here's how we do things at AllRise." It was, "Hi, Kathy, as you learn what we do at AllRise, can you tell us what you did differently that might have been better? Because
Mhm.
I'm always happy to learn. Like, just bring it." And she's made the firm so much better already in such a short period of time because, no one person has the answer. And especially once you don't have a partner anymore, I mean, you need all the help you can get, in my opinion.
Thank you for teaching me this. Actually, I like how you framed it just now. I'm going to integrate it into our onboarding because we bring in, like, our team grows usually every year quite substantially, but I never thought about asking that question. I always tell people that, like, learn how we do things, and if you know how to do better, show us. But I don't say, like, from the get-go what you said. Which, like, tell us what you did differently and better. I was like, first learn our stuff, and then, but I'm like, once they learn it, they may forget what they did there and how they did things there. So.
Well, I think it's also just in, like, them knowing that you're, like you said, approachable, like that
Crucial.
word, just knowing that that you can come tell them, you can tell us, you don't have to go behind our backs to your colleagues and tell them, like, maybe what we wanna know too.
Yeah, that's super interesting. My other little tip, something that I tell my teammates quite often, is that I love to be proven wrong.
Mm,
Like, tell me I'm wrong and back it up by data. Like, show
love
me
it.
how I'm wrong. I'm like, I do not want to live in a world of delusion. If I'm doing something incorrectly, if I'm thinking about something incorrectly, tell me, Sasha, you're wrong. Show me why you think that, and I would really appreciate it.
Yeah, yeah,
Like,
it's great. Same kinda thing.
yeah, this is fantastic. So this leads to multi-year or maybe forever retention for these folks with your law firm. But I'm curious, you're in corporate law, right?
Yes.
That's what you do. How do you structure work that when people need to take some time off, whether it's scheduled or, like you said, one of your colleagues, she travels to see her elderly parents in Florida often. How do you stack up work that it doesn't cause any disruptions, or does it cause disruptions?
Yeah, that's really the biggest challenge. It has worked well. I think it comes from what we just talked about. So when people will go the extra mile to help out because of the way they're treated the rest of the
Uh,
year. So in practice, we have 3 practice areas, right? We have startups, we do their organization formation, all of that, and then all the early stage fundraising rounds, pre-seed, seed, series A, series B. Really, I put all that together in either you call it startup law or just raising money.
mhm.
So we do some real estate syndication, real estate groups raising money, that kind of thing. And so we have we have one lawyer specific to that practice area plus me. That was my training. We have day-to-day contract review, drafting, negotiation, one specific lawyer in charge of that. We have 3 partner level lawyers in charge of mergers and acquisitions. Then we have an associate who does a little bit of all of it. And then I've trained everyone on the stuff that comes up constantly. So because we do a lot of early stage fundraising, the very early rounds, it's not rocket science. It's something we've kind of commoditized. We do a lot of them. So let's say someone raising, their first $1 million as a business, first half a million to a million. So the way it works in practice is, a deal comes in, it's M&A. I go to one of the 3 people, right? Like, who has time? We also, and you may have an answer to this because you have a big team. I've tried all the, Asana and HubSpot and they're so time consuming, all those CRMs to fill in. So we literally are still using a Google Sheet, and it just when you I know, right? So when you a new matter comes in, and it's assigned to somebody. It goes in alphabetical order on the Google sheet and who's doing it, and they make little notes as to where things stand. So I can go on there when something comes in and say like, "Oh, these 2 lawyers are so crushed right now, I'm not even gonna ask if they have time to do
Mhm.
it because 'cause they'll probably wanna kill me. So I'm gonna go to this other one who seems like he or she has time." And then so first it's by practice area, and then if it's more of, then there's clients who have very tight budgets, so then I stick to the associate. So it's by that, and then anyone will jump in, right? So and that's really the key to it all is, so and so had to leave to go take care of her parents in Florida this weekend. Nothing is there anyone available to help with X? And usually it's like everybody, just, happy to help it. And that's terrific. And then if not, it's me, which is not the end of the world either.
Got it. So that's amazing. So your culture is so good that people actually want to jump in and help out.
Mhm.
That's amazing. So we have something that's very similar, but because of like the size of the team and number of client projects that we're working on, like we couldn't work off of a spreadsheet. So we have a sophisticated project management software, and there is capacity allocation to every teammate. So like management actually knows who is available, who is not available. They'll ask also, but like our vacations are usually we ask people to like let us know like well in advance so that we know when they will be taken. And some of our leadership roles, they have their annual vacations. They're just like every July, I'm going to take this time off, and it's just going to be permanently on my calendar. It's going to be recurring every year, so you can plan ahead. I'll plan ahead. But we also have such a what I refer to as kumbaya culture. Like everyone will jump in, whoever needs to jump in, right? And then they will help out. Also, I was just curious how that would work in law because your clients arguably like have that one point of contact, and then that one point of contact, like if they go away and you deal with very sensitive and
Mhm.
very time sensitive matters. So I put myself into the shoes of that entrepreneur who may be raising their first $1 million. This is a my knees are shaking,
Mhm.
right? Kind of situation. This is a do or die. And my attorney is a huge part of my success formula, but they have to take some time off for one thing or another. Is it smooth usually, like when they advise the client that I'm not going to be here for the next X number of days? Here's my partner, here's my colleague who is going to take care of this, and I will be back on next Thursday, and I'm going to pick up exactly what they will live off.
Yeah. It's
Smooth?
it's not always opportune. I
Mhm.
there are definitely times when the client is not real thrilled about it. However, that's when the focus within the firm also it's not only the kumbaya with each other, it's all about client service. And, people are using us, they could be using the big firms and they're using us instead. And in some cases it's money, but in a lot of cases they're taking a chance, right? And so client service is, so important because at the big firms, not only are people, and I will answer your question, but in a roundabout way. So at the big firms, it's not only that it's expensive. When you're a small business, you just don't mean much. I mean, it's just the way it works,
Mhm.
And so being incredibly responsive and like really caring and getting to know the person and the business and what keeps them up at night, like all those cliche things, we live that. So I think that's the part that throws a client is not like, I know I'll get great legal work. That's why I'm using your team and you have a team. On the other hand, like this was my person. And so that's really when I kind of step in to, be very involved in that transition of like, here's someone else you're going to work with. I promise you that, you won't that, the lawyer you were working with is going to bring her up to speed and you will not be charged for any of that and I will be on top of all of it. And if you feel like you're being underserved in any way, you just contact me immediately. And I would say pretty much every time it ends up being fine. And the
Mhm.
client's like, okay, I was panicked, but it was all good.
Yeah,
And then they say like either one of them can work on my stuff from now on because they're all great.
makes sense. How do these people transfer knowledge? So these attorneys, one who is leaving for a few days or a couple of weeks, to the one that picks up the work. How do they transfer that knowledge?
Just getting on the phone and sending all the documents and talking through them and talking all about the client and that kind of thing. And it's not It's really willy-nilly for the most part. Like, yes, you're right, the one who has to go to Florida to take care of her parents, but she's been doing it so long that she's
Hmm.
got it all set where she works on the plane and she, so no one ever, like your team, if someone's gonna take a vacation, they have to tell me a long time in advance, and we do
Mhm.
a lot of planning, and we schedule who's gonna work with who based on that.
There's another tip that I want to share because
Okay,
not a
please.
lot of people know about this yet. So for all of our meetings, internal and client meetings, we utilize a tool called Fathom. It's fathom.video. It's an AI note taker that is better than any. We've tested a lot of them before we brought it on.
Okay.
This thing takes incredibly detailed notes, all in bullet point format, everything that's been discussed in the meeting, all of the tasks and responsible parties and due dates. And if you ever don't trust what it says, like for every bullet point, you can click, it will take you to the part in the video where this was
Wow.
discussed. Because of that, transfer of knowledge between teammates is incredibly smooth.
I love it.
There are no meetings where Fathom does not join. Like you have to actively say, I don't want you here. Do not record this, which some meetings may be so sensitive that like, we're not using Fathom here. But in most meetings, I would say like 99% of meetings, everything is on record. So you can never say you didn't tell me, or a client can never say you didn't tell me, or we
Uh-huh.
cannot tell a client you didn't tell us.
Yep,
Like
yep.
it's all there, it's all on record. And the reason why we love it so much, long before invention of Fathom, one of our core cultural values was transparency and accountability. This thing keeps everyone so honest. I call it the submarine type of reporting. There's nowhere to run. It's all incredibly transparent. There's nowhere to hide. And the thing is, as soon as you're done with the meeting, it will summarize the notes and it will email everyone who attends those notes.
That's terrific. Thank
Can't
you.
forget it's there. So to check it out, it's incredibly low cost for what it does, but it's like having this perfect, I don't know, receptionist, controller for your meetings, attend every single meeting, and just know who agreed to what was discussed, when it was discussed, and it's
Well, it's,
amazing.
I'm thinking I'm actually leaving on a week from today for 10 days
Hmm.
to go out of the country, and that's a great idea for my next week of conversations with clients who will be taken over by, so I love it. It's a great idea.
Fathom.video, super easy to integrate, incredibly easy to integrate.
Thank
And
you.
they just rolled out a new feature. I don't know if it would be suitable for your team or not for some of our teams. Incredibly suitable. There's coaching. So if you want people to hit on certain things in certain types of conversations, and those conversations are recurring with different clients, you pre-program it and say, like, I want you to evaluate them on this, and this. Especially if
Mm,
you know that people forget some of the talking points in those recurring conversations, you'll be like, hey, your score was 75% on this call. Check it out. And it'd be
love
like,
it.
you forgot this, and you're like, no, I didn't. And you click on it, and so we just implemented it literally early this week. We're recording this on Thursday, and we're looking at it and we're like, we used to do some of this manually, like, and to manually score quality of a meeting is an hour because you're sitting there and you're watching it manually, and now it's just
Mm,
it's
awesome.
an amazing system. Congrats on your success.
Thank you.
It sounds like you've built something that's very, very special. I'm curious. This is probably many, 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 many years away. But what if you already thought about what is your succession plan for your law firm?
I have thought about it. I'm actually turning 58 a month from today. So I have thought about it. I started this so late in life that I mean, the plan is at 70 is when I would think about all this stuff. So I've got plenty of time, but my dream is to pass it on to the people who work for me.
Mhm.
And that's my hope. And I fervently believe that will happen because these people are just phenomenal. A worst case in the world, I would sell it. Um, but I will say, we had a new client. Hopefully, we pitched a nice new client yesterday. They're an architectural firm, and the two partners just said to us, they kept saying, "Yes, we want to make a nice return. We've worked so hard, but our team is so special, and we're not doing anything where they won't be like revered and treated the way they were treated here and compensated appropriately, and where they have a possibility in the future of owning something and have skin in the game. And that's how I would feel. Like I would never sell to a big firm in a million years. So it would have to be maybe, it would have to be a very special law firm. But the hope is it'll be the people who work for me.
Very interesting. Do they know about this?
I don't know. I said that for the first time on the call with one of them, with this client. I said, "That's my plan. That's what I plan to do." But and maybe it was a surprise to her. There are a few of them that I've said I'd like to give you, like some equity and start, just think of you as a true partner. And it's so interesting, and it's such a woman thing because I probably would have said the same thing. The answer was for me to take on that role. In my head, this is what they're saying, in their heads meant a whole different level of responsibility that they didn't want to take on.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think back to one of your original questions about like what made you want to get to, like get to the top to be a partner, all that. I think they're all people like that. And they're like, if I take on that title and that role, I know in my head I'm going to give it everything. And right now I've got to give everything to my 3 little kids. And so, but I think from that, hopefully they have a glimpse into that's my plan. And I've promised all of them in no time anywhere in the near future will I be turning this over to a big firm. I get calls at least once a month. I get calls from big firms asking me to, will you become our Chicago office kind of thing? And no.
What makes you turn down those offers?
Because I'm building something so needed and so special for women, for and I guess and not I guess and men who need flex time. It's so important. And this is it. Just when you're young, you spend all those years like I just needed to make a living, right? Whatever I could do to become a really good lawyer, make a nice amount of money, be able to be the mom I wanted to be, great. But then you get older and it's like you want to leave a legacy for this world. And this is my legacy.
Is there no exit point where you would want to sell? Like they come to you and they say $20 million.
Oh, God. Yes, I would sell for $20 million.
Okay.
Yes, I would.
Got it. Just a reality check.
That's the reality. And I would give my people enough money that hopefully they, wouldn't have to worry about working for a while. But yes, I would take $20 million.
It's very interesting. So one of my colleagues, a good friend of mine, we've been working together for more than a couple of years. From time, she's so grateful for this environment. She's very successful at our company. And from time to time, she just says, don't screw it up by selling this company. Don't screw it up for me. And I'm like, no such plan. I do want to know what the business is worth every year. So like when private equity does reach out to us and they make us like, hey, let's talk. I'm like, tell me what it's worth. Give us your financials. I'm like, no problem. Tell me what it's worth. So every year I do want to have that evaluation with zero plans to sell it. It's interesting, because so you as the managing partner, you understand better than anybody or any employee, I think in any business, is that you still have a lot more responsibilities than any one employee. You need to build it never ends. You need to build a tremendous org chart. And we have 100 employees and I still have the most packed calendar of anyone. Like there's no one who has as packed of a calendar. And I know I can like slow down, but like now it's just choice. Like a few years ago, it was like I had to. Today it's still choice, but it's the most packed calendar. So I think also to the point that you said that some of the people in your team who you talked to about making them equity partners, it's a different level of commitment for sure. Very different level of commitment. But one day, if the sum is right, many years away from now, could be interesting.
We'll talk then.
Leslee, thank you so much for sharing the insights. Congrats on your success. Again, very, very atypical story. It's awesome. What was that website again? Not trying to breed competitors who may be looking for the same type of people.
No,
but
there's plenty of
the Mom Project.
The Mom Project. Yep.
Got it. Interesting. Do you find it so you have 9 out of 10 of your attorneys are ladies? Do you find that even in the legal field, women are more detail oriented than men? Because in our field, it is 100% true.
Yeah, probably. It's person by person. And so, but yes, typically.
Interesting. So there is the dual benefit to giving someone an opportunity who needs that flex time, which would commonly not be available in other law firms. And they're also detail oriented and they're probably more appreciative because they got this opportunity, whereas in most law firms, they wouldn't have it. That's awesome. Congrats on figuring that out. That's amazing.
Thank you. Thank
Uh,
you very much.
Thanks for being here. Appreciate it. Take care.
Thanks for having me. This is so much fun.